Yeah, I think a question for you is or do you provide training services, either phishing simulation or other training programs for your customers in terms of ransomware and also for social engineering?
We do. So we have two partners, both Fortinet and KnowBe4 provide phishing training, as far as the ransomware and social engineering for the funds and transfer fraud situation. That's more of a one-on-one engagement where we'll do with a customer and just kind of sit down with them and review policy overall, especially as we talk about incident response and attack response policies, and having a team in place to kind of help develop your initiatives, not just for when the emergency occurs, but what are the policies that we're going to put in place to hopefully prevent these events from occurring, or if they do occur, to try to make sure that we respond quickly and keep the damage, or as the DoD would say, the blast radius as small as possible, So, but yes, to the phishing training, yes, we do provide support in that.
Yeah, that's a really big deal. We've seen some terrific results, and our underwriters really like that that tool.
So in kind of following up on that, I think you're going to talk about it later, but since you just brought it up, is that something that can help to lower premium costs, or at the very least, if you're going through a renewal process, make sure that your premium cost doesn't spike up?
It's a big factor. I think depending on the size of the account, the size of the risk. If for public entities with under a $50 million budget, you're not going to get. There's not going to be a requirement for phishing training. There's not going to be. They're not going to be as strict on the MFA and things like that, depending on the market. Markets continue. We'll talk about the market in a second. As you go higher up the budget size, then they're going to get more persnickety, and then you're going to see more in-depth applications. They're going to see EDR. They're going to see, all these other things. They're going to want to see a pretty significant, pretty high stack of security tools.
Is it possible with some providers that they are being just as strict on even the smaller customers? Have you seen or heard of anything like that?
Well, they scrutinize. So a lot of our the way we do this is we usually access pricing through some portals. So we'll access pricing with a handful of our markets through portals. So we basically go to the portal, we put in the information, and the quotes get spit out. If there is a security hang up in the vulnerability scans, then it'll get kicked to secondary review. Or with certain classes of business, they will only quote outside of the portal. And that's public entities, unless they're real small. They're going to be required to be quoted by an underwriter, like a live breathing human being. But that being said, we just recently, one of our markets, we've got a couple markets now that for risk up to 50 million, and this may include maybe a few types of public entities. They don't require any controls for companies up to 50 million in revenues. They're trying to grab market share. So it's these things come full circle in a short period of time.
Yeah, that is really interesting. Especially just some of the complaints that we hear from customers, just how strict folks are getting. It's interesting to hear that, like you're saying, now you have some companies coming in willing to just take any and all that come their way. So that's very, very interesting.